Today's webinar is on auto buying. We do have a really great webinar for you guys today, a lot of great information, really going to help you feel empowered when you go into the dealer, if you go into the dealer. But again, everybody has been muted and we will be taking questions at the end. Again, this topic is a hot one for many of us right now. I know that, many people are looking to get into their next vehicle. And it is challenging in this market when we're faced with high interest rates, and maybe not much inventory. So we hope to provide you guys with some helpful information that will really help you in this auto buying journey. Today, as I mentioned, I am the financial education manager and I will be your host, but we do have Tim Sharnagle, the director of consumer lending, who is going to help us, through this process and really share some valuable information. So, and this 1 hour webinar on auto buying, we'll share some really great information to keep in mind when you're gearing up to purchase your next vehicle. We're going to talk about some tips that will help you take the stress out of this process. It will get help you really get your finances in order before we start shopping. We're going to learn some keys to unlock some real savings before we even visit a dealer. And lastly, learn about our Auto Advantage team here at EdFed. So remember that at EdFed, our approach is a little different. It's more of a consultative approach with the members. So we're really looking out for the best interest, your best interest, helping you get the vehicle that you want at the price that you want, something that makes sense for you. So again, we all know that this process can be a stressful one. It is also an emotional one for many because there's many factors at play here, right? It's a really big purchase. And so we can be both excited and nervous when we're making this big commitment for us, right? And this webinar really was created with you in mind. Tim will be sharing, his best tips to keep you, up to date of what you're going to expect, and really how to handle it like an expert. But first things first, we need to get a pulse check on our finances, right? We need to make sure that we are ready before we start even shopping. Okay, so the best way we can prepare is to get a clear picture of our finances, right? So we're going to take a look at our savings. We're going to take a look at our credit. We have to see if we already have room in our budget for this purchase, right? Do we have an established savings? Do we need to begin? How much do we need to save, right? How much do we need to have for that down payment and other fees that we're going to have? Consider, we always talk about considering to have a few months of your car payment, your insurance payment, maybe even some funds for repairs or even towards gas. The truth is that the better prepared we are, the better we can be, right? For anything that comes our way. Life happens. And so it's good to have those savings there for when we need it. If we need some additional funds, consider automating those savings, right? And so we can kind of see that savings grow. Remember that it's about being consistent. Please avoid the temptation of tapping into any type of expensive sources like a 401k, any high interest credit cards. There's penalties and fees to consider, but we want to avoid any of those additional ones. And also remember that those investment funds, we want to keep it there growing for our retirement, right? On the next point, we're going to be looking at our credit, right? Our lenders will be looking, at our credit report, and they're going to make their decisions based on that. So whether they approve or deny, they're also going to provide interest rates based on that credit and that credit history. And so make sure to take advantage of your free credit pull once a year from each of the credit bureaus. We have covered this before, but I do want you to know that you can pull one from each of the credit reporting agencies, which is Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and you can pull them at annualcreditreport.com. So this is a good pulse check, right? Seeing what it is that they're going to see, checking that score, seeing if there is room for improvement. We really want to make sure that we are at its best so we can get a better rate, okay? Lastly, we're going to look at all the information on that credit report and ensure that it's accurate. Is this all of my information? Do they have the correct address, the correct employment information? Is there any accounts here that are not ours? Is our utilization high, right? Are we kind of maxing out on our credit cards right now? Like, what can we do to improve that? And so it's super important that we have that check, that kind of review with ourselves so that we know what that lender is going to see. So to put us in our best position. Okay. So now once we have those things in order, right? Once we have that savings in order and once we have that credit in order, well, now we can go to shop, right? So now I have Tim Sharnagle, who will be joining us to share some updates in the market and how to unlock those savings. Tim, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Cindy, and welcome everybody. So today we're going to go through and discuss the auto buying environment, first, and then we'll go into some tips on how to go through the process. There's going to be 5 tips that we'll go through. So in terms of the auto buying environment, the pandemic really brought on some big changes to the auto market. There were vehicle shortages due to manufacturing difficulties, chip shortages, which are used to, essentially power your car, right? The microchips are used for the computers that all cars have these days. And there was also a surge in demand, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. And so this really changed the market in the sense that prices skyrocketed. It was not uncommon during the pandemic to see sale prices go above MSRP. We saw even some cases where it was, $15,000 above MSRP. So a very large change to what the environment was prior to the pandemic. As of July 2023, the average cost of a new car was a little over $48,000. And I will say that hot off the press, through February, we have seen that come down a little bit. It's down to $47,142. But that's up $6,000 from 2 years ago, up $10,000 from September of 2020. So again, the pandemic really brought on this big change of what the price of a car was. One other thing that we noticed is that many of the manufacturers have cut the entry-level cars from their fleets. For example, Ford is no longer offering many of its sedans, such as the Focus or the Taurus, and not just Ford. This is across all the manufacturers. Essentially, you're seeing these entry-level cars kind of vanish from the marketplace, which again has helped or caused the drive of the average cost of a new car to increase. But all is not lost. There have been improvements in the market. So the new vehicle price inflation has all but disappeared in 2023, according to Rebecca Rudzinski, who works for Kelley Blue Book. She's a research manager there. The new vehicle prices, primarily driven by cuts in luxury and electric vehicles, are decreasing as inventory is steadily improving. So we've seen that improvement in the production of new cars. And with the higher inventories and higher incentives helping to keep downward pressure on prices, there certainly are good reasons for shoppers to be heading back to the market. So this is a good time for individuals who are looking to purchase a new car to kind of get back into the market. Maybe you've been holding off on purchasing that car because of the increased prices. We're starting to see that come down. And in February, they actually opened with 80 days of new vehicle supply, as an average in the industry, which is great. That's been the highest since June of 2020. So we're definitely seeing a lot of improvements come into the market, which is going to help with the price that you can get on a vehicle. Along with that, we've seen incentives have increased. They've made up 4.4% of the average transaction price in 2023. This is up from just a year ago, where those discounts only totaled 2.4% of that ATP. And then the non-luxury prices have actually dropped in 2023. So there are improvements in the market as we've exited out of kind of the pandemic time. Improvement in the production of these vehicles has helped to bring those prices back down or start driving them back down. So unlocking the 5 keys to real savings, that's what we're going to cover today. So the first part, and Cindy somewhat touched on this, is going to be to know your budget. Step 2 is going to be to do your homework. We're going to cover financing, trying to obtain a loan pre-approval that's going to give you your best option and know what you can actually afford and what those prices are going to be. And then 4, we're going to talk about negotiating at the dealership. And the 5th key we'll discuss is going to be EdFed's Auto Advantage service. So going into our key number 1, knowing your budget. It's very important to know this, and that's why we have it as the first item that you want to go through. So how much should you spend on a car? You want your car payment to be somewhere around 10 to 15% of your monthly salary. So you want to look at what is your monthly salary. You can look at the gross monthly salary, multiply that by the 10 to 15%, and that's going to give you about what you want to spend monthly on that car payment. And then your total vehicle cost, which would include, your loan payments along with, let's say, the cost of your car insurance, should total no more than 20%. So you want to make sure you're taking into account the cost of insurance when you're looking at purchasing a new car as well, because that is a major factor that goes into adding to your monthly expense. And depending on which vehicle you're looking into, it could increase over what you're paying today. And there are some good websites that can help with determining what that, how much car you can afford based on that monthly amount that you're looking to spend and to be within that monthly salary cap that we're talking about. Edmunds, for example, Edmunds.com has a great calculator on there of how much car you can afford. You can also do a Google search of just how much car can I afford, and there's other calculators out there as well. They all kind of do the same thing where you can put in, what that 10 to 15% of your monthly, salary is, to then come back with this is how much car you can kind of afford. You also want to look at what is your total monthly debt versus total monthly income. So what's that new car payment that you're looking at, along with what are your existing payments, your rent, other loan payments that you may have, et cetera. And you want to try to keep that somewhere between that 50 and 55%. When you start crossing over that debt to income ratio over 55%, it starts to put a little bit more stress onto your budget. And then that could also cause you to not be able to save. And as Cindy mentioned before, we do want to make sure that, you're still being able to put some money aside for unexpected expenses that come up. So you want to make sure you don't put yourself into a bad situation there. So it's somewhat of a two-part point that you want to look at of, the car payment itself, and then what the total debt is as well. That's going to help you to decide on if you should look at new or pre-owned based on the pricing that you get to. And then that's going to help you on knowing where you want to focus on the next key that once we get to there. And you want to consider, like we talked about, that car insurance cost. How much is it going to cost? Contact your provider today that you have. Find out, if there's a specific vehicle in mind, what is the approximate cost, per month for insurance on that vehicle. That way you can, add that into that budget. You want to look also at, the trade-in. Do you have a vehicle that you're going to trade in? If so, what's the value of that vehicle? Do you have equity in the car, meaning that maybe you don't have a loan, it's already paid off. So any value in the car is equity that you can put towards the next purchase, or are you possibly upside down? Do you owe more on the current car loan than what the value of the car is? That's going to determine, how much of a car you can afford for the next one when you're looking at the what cars are going to fit into that budget. And then you want to know how much are you going to need to borrow? Do you have a down payment saved up already? Cindy touched on this as well earlier. Do you have some savings set aside that you can use as a down payment that can potentially help buy a little bit more expensive vehicle, after the amount that you need to borrow? So all that goes into, the total, part of knowing what your budget is. And you want to consider that total cost, not just the car payment as we talked about, and not just insurance. What's the cost for fuel? What's going to be the cost if you're looking at maybe an electric vehicle? Are there any other upfront costs that you need to consider? For example, if you're looking to purchase a Tesla or some other type of electric car that requires you to charge it every night, do you have to install, one of their charging stations at your home? What's going to be the cost of that? What's it going to do to your electric bill? So there are all these things that you want to look at, not just what the car payment is, but what is the total price of that car. And key number 2 is going to be to do your homework. So now that you've built out a budget, you've got an idea of this is how much I can spend. This is about how much of a car I can purchase based on that budget. You don't want to rush into it. This is going to be a big purchase. It's a big expense. So you want to make sure that you're doing your homework ahead of time and don't rush into something. Do your research, check out the reliability of a vehicle. Maybe there's cars that you look at and say, that's a beautiful car, I'd love to own one. How reliable is it? What are the safety features that it has? What are the safety ratings that the vehicle has on it? What options come available on that car? And what's the total cost of ownership? Some luxury vehicles have higher cost of ownership than, let's say, non-luxury vehicles do. This could be because of the maintenance that's required on them. What are the cost of oil changes? What are the cost of tires, et cetera? These are things that you're going to have to take into consideration, along with things like, what type of fuel does it cost? Some luxury vehicles require you to put in a premium fuel versus just regular unleaded. How's that going to factor into what your budget is? And then choosing the right vehicle. Again, you want to look at what are the fuel costs? What's the practicality of that? Maybe you fall in love with the Ford Mustang and say, that's a great car, I'd love to own it. But, do you have a family of 4 and, dogs or something? You want to make sure that is the car that you're choosing practical for your lifestyle. And you want to make sure that you're looking at all that. So, do your homework prior to going to the dealership. So that way, once you do make that decision and you're going to the dealer, where you're at and which vehicles you're going to be looking at. And there's some great online research that you can do. There's some really good websites based on what you're looking for. So if you're looking to do just vehicle research and reviews, there's, Edmunds.com that we mentioned earlier has very good, research and reviews that you can look up, gives you a lot of different information. Same as consumerreports.com, Carfax.com, and jdpower.com. All are great resources to look up research and reviews of vehicles. And then in terms of vehicle values and pricing, maybe you want to look up what's the approximate value of the car that you currently own to get a rough, estimate of the trade-in. Or you want to look up, you're looking at new cars and you want to know, well, what's the MSRP of these cars? What's, if it's a used car, what's the retail value of that vehicle? NADA.com, KBB, which is for KellyBlueBook.com, Carfax.com, and JD Power are all great sites to be able to use for looking at the values and pricing of vehicles. And then there's vehicle search sites. So maybe you want to start looking for vehicles that, you've done the research, the pricing, what your budget is. Now it's time to start shopping and you want to start to see, well, what dealers maybe have these vehicles, which ones are offering good prices. If it's a used car, where are the used cars at? Which dealers do I need to go to? There's some great sites out there, groovecar.com, which we have a link to from our website, cars.com, autotrader.com, carfax.com, and jdpower.com. Are all great websites that you can use to search for that. And you'll see that there's a couple websites there, Carfax and JD Power, that kind of are a one-stop shop, that you can do the research, the values, and search for vehicles all in one spot. So key number 3 is going to be doing the financing. So now you know your budget, you have a rough idea of which cars are going to fall into that and maybe which vehicles you're looking to potentially want to purchase. The next step would be trying to get pre-approval. Obtain pre-approval from your credit union before you go shopping. This is really going to help to solidify, what is your budget, and how is your credit. Cindy touched on this at the very beginning. Do a quick search on the get a free credit report from annualcreditreport.com. Get an understanding of what your credit looks like. That's going to help to find out what rates you might be able to qualify for. And if there's anything on there ahead of time that maybe you can clean up, get something paid down, et cetera, to help you, have the best chance of getting a pre-approval and a favorable rate. But when you do the pre-approval through your credit union, and if you decide to do it through EdFed, we'll be able to help you out on helping with that budget as well, to know, okay, well, this is what 10 to 15% of your monthly income is, to help guide you there, along with knowing what your debt to income ratio, since we'll be pulling a hard credit pool as well. So we'll be able to kind of help you with that aspect of it, and then obtain that pre-approval, and then you'll truly know this is how much I can afford and what I'm approved for, to then begin the shopping process. And again, along with not just how is your credit, but do you have the trade-in? We just touched on this a little bit earlier. You can get the values of your trade by going to certain dealerships, CarMax, AutoBuy, Carvana, or even Enterprise Car Sales. They will give you an offer on your trade-in, even if you're not buying a car from them. So it's a great opportunity to take it in. I know CarMax, for example, will give you a 10-day offer that you can go in and get an offer on your car, and they'll give it to you in writing to say, this is how much we'll buy your car for. And that'll be a great way to determine truly how much your car might be worth for a trade-in at a dealership. And that's going to help you with the negotiation process later on. And it's really important that when you do take your trade-in in, whether it's to one of these dealerships that we mentioned here, or even when you're just going to the dealership itself that you want to buy the next car from, make sure you clean it. A clean trade-in is going to return back a higher value than one that's dirty. Clean the outside, clean the inside, make sure you get any trash, anything like that out of the car, and that's going to give you the best shot at getting a higher value for that trade-in. So now it's time to go shopping. And the biggest thing here is that you want to make sure you stick to your strategy. You've done all this homework ahead of time. You've figured out your budget. You've gotten the pre-approval. You want to make sure that you're being objective and that you test drive the vehicles that you're going to be looking at purchasing. The daytime is the best time to do the shopping. And the reason for this is that you want to be able to inspect that vehicle and look for any dents, scratches, dings, things like that on the outside. And when you go at night, sometimes there's going to be things that you miss because you don't have that bright sun to help identify any of those. Look at different angles of the car while you're walking around it. And you want to allow for sufficient time. It's going to take time as you go to the dealerships to walk around the lot, look at the different vehicles that they have, especially if you're in between one or two different vehicles. And then it's also going to take time once you pick out that vehicle to do the negotiation process. You're going to have to sit with the F&I, the finance and insurance to go through the process of finalizing the purchase of that car. So just make sure that you've almost dedicate a day to doing your shopping, because you might hit multiple dealerships in one day as well. And while you're there at the dealerships, your smartphone is your friend. Everybody's got a little computer in their pocket with the smartphones these days. All those websites that we mentioned, you're able to access them right on your smartphone. So if you're at the dealership and maybe you've kind of gone off your strategy a little bit and it's a different car that you haven't looked up yet, pull out your phone, do the research right then and there, see if it's something that's that still interests you and it's going to fit your budget. And then make sure that you're sticking to your budget. You've done all that homework ahead of time. Make sure you stick to the budget, what you've been pre-approved for, so that way you know that you're getting a good deal. And then while shopping, some test drive tips that we have, again, we talked about this: inspect the vehicle, look for those dents and scratches in the car. If you do see any dents and scratches, which typically, could be on more of the used cars if you're looking at a used car versus new, but still check out the new cars, see if they can be repaired prior to you taking delivery of that vehicle. Check the oil, especially on the used cars, make sure that it's at the right level. Does it look clean or is it very sludgy? Again, if you're seeing that, ask them if they could do an oil change prior to the purchase of the vehicle and taking delivery of it. Check the transmission fluid. And then when you're actually test driving the vehicle, turn down the radio. Yes, it's important to know that the radio works, but you want to turn down that radio, listen for any rattling noises, etc. Again, especially on used vehicles. Is there anything that maybe is making a noise that it shouldn't make? And that can help to steer you away from that car. Maybe there's something, that you're hearing that doesn't sound right. Maybe it's time to look for a different vehicle, see if they have something else on the lot. And then check the window sticker on new cars. New vehicles are going to have the window sticker. It's going to detail out, what the standard equipment is, what optional equipment has been added to the vehicle already, and just make sure it has that. If it says that it has, all-weather floor mats, make sure the vehicle has the all-weather floor mats in it. If you see something on the window sticker and you're not seeing it in the vehicle itself, question the dealer and ask them, where is this or what is that? Maybe it's something that you missed, they can point it out to you. Or if there's anything on there that you're not sure of, ask the questions to the dealership. They're there to assist you. Many of the dealer salesmen, they're going to be great at walking you through everything on the vehicle. So again, just take a look at it. And if there's anything that you're not sure of, ask the questions. So key number 4 we've gotten to now is negotiating at the dealership. So when you're at the dealership, you don't want to focus just on the monthly payment. So you don't want to tell the dealer, I'm looking for a vehicle that fits, let's say it's a $500 monthly payment. And the reason for that, even though I know we talked earlier about you want to know what your budget is based on your monthly payment, that's to know what the total amount of the loan is that you can afford. But when you're looking at the price of a car, if you go solely based on what your monthly payment is, that doesn't mean you're getting a good deal on that vehicle, right? So you don't want to find where you say, hey, I want to keep it within $500 or $500 monthly payment, but then now they're selling you a car that's only worth $30,000 for $40,000 because that's going to fit within that monthly budget. So you want to look at what is the actual fair price for that car. On new cars, you're going to be looking at the MSRP, also known as the sticker price. So that same window sticker that we were discussing earlier, it's going to have on there what is the MSRP for that vehicle. Based on the market conditions that we're in right now, if you can get the vehicle at MSRP, that is a good price. Anything under that is even better. And some manufacturers might have different incentives available for it. And so anything that you can do to get that price under the MSRP or at MSRP is the best. If it's over MSRP, that's where you want to start negotiating them down to that MSRP price. Or maybe it's time to shop at a different dealership. For used cars, you're going to use either the NADA or that Kelley Blue Book retail value. When you're looking at that, you want to make sure that you're adjusting the price for the mileage of the vehicle, along with any options that it may have. So again, your smartphone is going to be your friend here, where you're going to be able to pull it out, pull up either NADA.com, KBB.com, put in that exact vehicle, how many miles it has, what options it has, and what the overall condition is. I know both NADA and KBB, they have an option for the condition of the vehicle, and that's going to help to be able to guide you to what the fair price is. So you want to be somewhere around that retail value of the vehicle. I know KBB has a really good feature where it kind of shows, what that fair range is, because it can vary a little bit depending on your zip code as well. And as we continue through our negotiation at the dealer, we want to keep the transaction separate. So essentially there's 3 different transactions that are going to be negotiated at the dealership. The first is negotiating the price of the new car that you want to purchase. So you want to start there, get that price down, get to an agreed upon price. If it's a new car, MSRP or less, set that into stone. Say, okay, this is the price that we've agreed on. Second, you're going to negotiate the price of your trade-in. And the reason that you want to negotiate the price of the trade-in second is that you don't want to do the trade-in first, get the dealership to agree to a high, let's say trade-in value, but then not be as willing to negotiate the price of the new car. So you want to start there first, start the new car, then negotiate the price of your trade-in. And if you've already taken it to a place like CarMax or Enterprise, and you have a written agreement for what they would buy the vehicle for, use that to your advantage. Let the dealer know, listen, I can take the car to CarMax and I can get X amount of dollars for it, and try to start there for what they are going to be able to give you for the trade-in. And again, make sure that that trade-in is clean, so that way you're getting the best value for it there. And then the third is going to be the financing. Now, you may have already completed this portion by having your credit union pre-approval, but in case you haven't, and you are more willing to want to try and finance through the dealership, that point is when you're going to be sitting with the finance and insurance individual, and then they're going to be able to go through, what offers are available, what rates are there, and you really want to look at, what is the dealer rebate if there are any. Is it better to take the rebate or a low dealer loan rate? And kind of we'll go through in a little bit the truth about that 0% financing. But those are things, if you're deciding not to take credit union financing and you're looking to maybe negotiate through the dealership, those are some items that you want to look at. So the truth about the 0% financing is that it's not offered on all makes and models. And we haven't seen too much of the 0% lately. Occasionally, we might see an advertisement for a true 0%, but more recently, we've seen 0.9, 1.9, lower rates, but not true 0%. But even those are not offered on all the makes and models. They're typically on specific makes and models that the dealership or the manufacturer is trying to, offload a little bit more or push. So those are going to be the ones. So maybe the vehicle that you're looking at does not offer it. And a lot of times these are used as tactics to get you into, the dealership. Hey, come here. We've got 0% or 0.9, and it gets you in the door. So again, if you do your research on it, you're going to be able to see even on the manufacturer's website which of those vehicles actually qualify for that lower financing. Many times when you do take the lower financing, you may be required to forego other dealer incentives. So they might have a cashback offer or some other type of rebate off of the vehicle itself. And again, this would be on specific makes and models. But you would really have to just do the calculations to say, well, which way am I going to save the most money? Am I going to, I know Chevy for a little while was offering up to $8,000 back on like the Chevy Silverados. So you'd have to look at, well, is it better for me to take $8,000 off the purchase price of my car now, or take, let's say the 0.9 or 1.9% that they were offering? Which way am I going to save more? You may find that as you do the calculations, and again, there's a lot of calculators out there that you can type in, the price of the car, what the interest rate is and the term, and see what's the total finance charges that you would be charged. You want to kind of look at which way are you going to save the most money. And not all consumers may qualify for that low rate. Many times, these lower rates have very stringent credit requirements where you have to have a very high credit score in order to qualify for it. And if you don't meet those conditions, then the rate that they're going to offer you may be much higher. And you may not realize that until you've already gone through, this process, and you think you're going to take the dealer financing just to find out, well, sorry, the rate you're actually going to get is, 8 or 9%, or potentially higher depending on the credit. And the last part is that many of these very low interest rates, they require a very short term on the loan, 36 months, potentially 48 months. And then if you want longer terms, the rates begin to increase. So then again, it becomes, well, are you going to be able to fit that budget that you've already, calculated if you take a short term, like a 36-month, or a 48-month? You may find that you're not going to be able to. So again, these are all things to consider when you're looking at that. I know it sounds great to take 0%, but you just need to know all the facts before you sign on that dotted line. Some other keys while you're negotiating at the dealership is to be ready to walk away. there are a lot of dealerships in South Florida. You know, it seems like you can turn down just about any road and find a dealership. So don't be afraid to walk away. You know, just because this dealer is not willing to work with you on the price, there may be another dealer that is. It could depend on, you know, how much inventory they have. You know, certain dealers, maybe they don't have as much inventory for a specific model that you're looking at, but another dealership has many of them. They may be more willing to negotiate on the price because they have a higher inventory count. So don't be afraid to walk away and do your research somewhere else or try to take your business somewhere else. You want to watch out for any hidden fees that could be on the vehicle. So review through that purchase order, you know, double check to make sure there's not any additional dealer markups. You know, double check the purchase order itself, which is the document that's going to detail the full price of the vehicle. So it's going to have the selling price, any dealer fees, which you really can't get away from dealer fees, but look at what are the dealer fees. You know, some dealers may charge higher than others. It's going to have your taxes, tag, registration fees. It'll include the trade-in information, how much they're giving you for the trade-in, how much you maybe still owe on that loan, and then what is called the out the door price. So how much do you owe that dealership, you know, after, let's say, your down payment. So you want to just make sure that you take out your phone on your calculator, just add everything up, make sure the out the door price adds up to what you're seeing on the purchase order. And do not take delivery of a vehicle if it's not ready. So if you're buying a used car and you found some scratches or a dent, and the dealer promises to, you know, repair those prior to, you know, they say not a problem, you know, buy this car and we'll go ahead and fix those. Try to get those, you know, repaired. Don't take the actual delivery of the vehicle until it is repaired. And the reason why is that you don't want to find that you drive off the lot and then now the dealer doesn't remember making those promises to you. So if it is something where you want to take the car off the lot right away, get it in writing from the dealership of what they are promising to pay and within what time period. Make sure it's all spelled out very clear, so that way you have something to, you know, hold them accountable for if they made that type of promise to you. Otherwise, if they're not willing to do that, don't take delivery of the vehicle. And then some other helpful tips that we have. Remember that you never want to drive the vehicle off the lot until after the deal is signed. Once you drive off the lot with the vehicle, you are essentially taking ownership and agreeing to, you know, the purchase of that vehicle. So wait until everything is all signed and done before driving off. You know, don't let them say, well, hey, just take the car tonight, come back tomorrow, not a problem. Try to get everything done right then and there. And if you can't, drive off with your own car that you brought in there. Don't leave with the new car if you haven't signed everything. And you don't want to sign blank documents. Occasionally you might get dealerships who say, well, listen, you know, it's getting late, just sign these documents, you know, just so that way we have something signed and you can take the car tonight and just come back tomorrow and we'll, you know, finish everything. You know, or maybe they're saying, well, you know, I know you want to finance with your credit union, take this, you know, just sign here and then you can bring back the financing from, you know, your credit union, you know, in a day or two. You don't want to do that. Anything that you're signing, you can be, you know, liable for. So, you know, there is no right of rescission, which is the right for a consumer to be able to cancel the loan agreement. That is only applicable on home loans. So for car loans, it's a misconception that you have a right of 3 days to be able to cancel that loan. On car loans, that is not applicable. So if you sign documentation with the dealership for financing to be able to drive off the car while you're trying to secure financing elsewhere, that dealership does have the right to put through that financing immediately, and you can be locked into a loan that maybe you didn't really want to take. So try not to do that unless you truly want to take the dealer financing. And one other thing is like keeping the trade to try and force the purchase. So again, you know, if you're looking at trading in your vehicle, make sure that you're kind of holding on to those keys until the deal is done. Not to say that, you know, all dealerships do this or any dealerships really do this, but, you know, it could be a tactic where they hold on to, you know, the keys of your trade-in to try and force you, you know, into signing the deal and getting something done that maybe you're not necessarily ready to do. So just make sure that if you're not ready, if you're not feeling comfortable with the price, the out the door price, you know, make sure you get those keys back and you can leave that day, because as we talked about, don't be afraid to walk away. Some more helpful tips that we have is to look at potential dealer add-ons and options. You know, there could be things that you want to add on to the car that aren't already part of the standard equipment. Things like window etching, which is where they'll etch in the VIN number into the windows of the vehicle. They can add a paint sealant sometimes, nitrogen filled tires, and then any other accessories, you know, manufacturer or aftermarket. And it's up to you if those are things that are important to you that you want to add. Just know what the price is, and then also having your research done ahead of time or while you're there to know, is this something that I can get? Is it truly needed? Like nitrogen-filled tires, do you really need your tires filled with nitrogen? I think regular air works perfectly fine. And then for any other accessories, maybe you want the all-weather floor mats, and it doesn't come standard in the car already. Look it up online. Can you buy them online aftermarket, cheaper than what the dealership is selling to you? Or are you able to get a good deal? Maybe they have some type of special on it. And if it's something that's very important to you and you want to have it, just do the research again and make sure that what you're adding onto the car is coming at a fair price. As we go on to the next slide. So we've talked about this a little bit, the finance and insurance department, also known as the F&I department. No matter what, whether you're taking financing through your credit union or if you're going to end up taking financing through the dealership, you are going to have to sit with the F&I department. They're going to be the ones who actually finalize that purchase order with you, go through the whole negotiation part of like what the value of the trade-in, et cetera. So that's who you're going to be sitting with to do that, not necessarily the salesman. So you want to inform that finance manager of your credit union pre-approval. So you've already gotten at this point your pre-approval from EdFed. You want to make sure that you're going through and letting them know that up front, so that way they don't have you, fill out any paperwork to take a loan with them, because that would require another hard credit hit, and you want to try to avoid that if you don't need to. They're also going to offer you different products that they might sell, things like gap insurance, extended warranties, et cetera. Just know that your credit union also offers those products, and typically at a cheaper price than what you're going to finance or be able to purchase them through the dealership for. Gap is something that protects you, that if there's a total loss on the vehicle and your insurance company doesn't pay it off in full, that the Gap will cover that difference to help pay off the loan. So that way you're not stuck paying on a loan that you no longer have a vehicle for because it was a total loss accident, for example. Some dealerships charge up to $999 for that product. Credit unions charge much cheaper amounts than what the dealers do. And then the same with extended warranties. Do your homework again. We offer extended warranties here at EdFed. Many credit unions offer them. Compare apples to apples. What does the extended warranty through the dealership, offer? What price is it coming at? What's the extended warranty through, your credit union through EdFed? We can send you sample copies of what the policy is, so that way you can compare them apples to apples while you're there at the dealership and making sure that you're making an informed decision. But what you'll find is that many times your credit union is able to offer you a much lower price on those products than what the dealerships are able to offer. And then your credit union pre-approval is going to, really process you as a cash buyer there at the dealership. Since they don't have to put through the financing, it's going to help make that process go much smoother. When you have to take financing through the dealership, it could cause you to spend more time at the dealership than you've already spent in order for them to, run the credit, do the application, wait for answers back, and then go through additional paperwork that you wouldn't necessarily need to do because you have that pre-approval already with the credit union. They're essentially being paid through a dealer and a site draft, and so they're getting their money from us. So it's as if it's like a cashier's check to them, and then that gets you out of the door much quicker. And our fifth key that we're going to come to today is to use EdFed's Auto Advantage service. And the reason for this is because everything that we just talked about, our Auto Advantage service is going to be able to do for you. They're here to walk you through the entire process. So step one would be getting your credit union financing, get that pre-approval with EdFed. Once you get that done, we'll be able to have you see our Auto Advantage team. They help with both new and pre-owned cars. They're going to help you save money, save time. There's no haggling that you have to do at the dealership because we have over 50 dealers in South Florida that we work with, and we're going to be able to have negotiated prices already from our dealerships for our members that they give special member pricing on. You're given like a VIP treatment. When you work through our Auto Advantage service, we have 3 great team members, Raul and Annette, that are out of our Kendall branch, and Claudia out of our Miami Gardens branch. They give you true concierge VIP service, walking you through the process, helping you find the vehicle that's going to fit your needs, and making those appointments for you at the dealership. So you have a specific individual that you're going to go and see that is typically our fleet manager at the dealership, and they're going to give you that one-on-one service that you deserve. And it's going to really take the pressure off of the whole process. So they do steps 1, really 1 through 4 for you. And that's what makes it so nice. And it's a free service for all of our membership. So a quick review of the 5 keys to the real savings when purchasing a new vehicle is step 1 is to know your budget, maybe one of the most important pieces there. Step 2 is to do your homework before you visit the dealership. Step 3 is the financing, obtaining your loan pre-approval from your credit union ahead of time. Step 4 is effectively negotiating the price of the car at the dealership. Step 5, which really you should use as step 1 because it helps to, negate number of 1 through 4, is to use EdFed's Auto Advantage service. All right.
All right, thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for that amazing information. Hopefully we have provided some great information to help you guys get started, to get that pulse check on those finances, right? Checking on that savings, checking on your credit. It's important that we keep our budget top of mind. I know Tim covered it, but again, the dealer might show you something out of your price range. You're going to get excited, but remember that you do have your smartphone with you, so you can always use that to kind of check for any new information provided. But remember, you already did your homework. You already, created that budget, so you know what you're willing to spend and what you're willing to accept in terms of cost and value. And so just remember, we are here for you. Remember that if the dealer does not meet you where you are, to stand strong and be prepared to walk away, because ultimately you know that you have options, right? But again, like Tim said, our Auto Advantage team is wonderful and we are here to help you. I am going to go ahead and share their information. Here we have the website, edfed.org/apply. If you want to get apply for the pre-approval online, you can also call the Lending Center 305-273-5626, or you can come into one of the branches, right? And speak with them there. They're always going to refer you to the lending, to the Auto Advantage team, Raul and Annette at Kendall, and then Claudia at Miami Gardens. I did want to go ahead and share some really great information for you guys. We have an auto sale event on Saturday, March 9th at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at our Kendall branch. Here, members will be able to enjoy exclusive pricing on preferred inventory from Bauman Automotive, Kendall Toyota, Ocean Mazda, Southdate Kia, Williamson Automotive Group, and Selective Motors. Available only at this special event, which is really incredible. We're going to have over 150 vehicles on site to choose from. What's really great here is that you can not only shop a wide variety of models, but you can also test drive them in one convenient location. You can visit our website, www.edfed.org/auto sale for some more information on the auto sale. I hope you found this webinar beneficial. We are going to be hosting an EdFed Academy webinar on the last Saturday of each month. And the next one is scheduled for March 30th, 2024. It's going to be on planning for college. We hope you guys are going to join us for that one. I do want to have you, notice here all of the information that we have shared in terms of the phone number, the website. You can follow all of our social. Our handle is at EdFedCU. But we are going to take some time for Q&As. We have Tim on the line still. I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Tim so you can introduce your team, but I will also share some of the questions we are receiving.
Sure, great. So again, I'm Tim Sharnagel. I'm our Director of Consumer Lending here at EdFed. We have Michael Aubrey, who's our Senior Vice President of Lending on the line as well, and Raul Farinas, our Senior Auto Advisor here at EdFed. Raul and Michael have both been in the business for a very long time, and they bring a lot of great knowledge. And so we'll be more than happy to help answer any questions that the audience may have.
Thank you, Tim. So I did see a few questions.
Tim,
Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I was going to say we had a few questions. One attendee asked if you could put slide number 2 back up with with the slide for the tip number 2. And while you're accessing that, Cindy, we can answer for this other member. Tim, would you walk us through? One of our members has asked about using the auto buying service and purchasing in another state, and as far as delivery of that vehicle to another state. Would you be so kind to answer that for us?
Sure. So while our Auto Advantage team primarily works with dealerships in the South Florida area. We have a network of over 50 dealers that are all in South Florida. In terms of the financing, EdFed is still able to secure financing for you outside of the state. So even if you're purchasing a vehicle from a dealership that is not within South Florida or outside of Florida altogether, we are still able to assist with that. In terms of scheduling for a car delivery to another state, Raul, I'm not sure, with any of our dealerships here, if they would be able to help secure that.
Well, there is a way of doing it. There will be a cost involved with shipping a vehicle out of state. But if the vehicle is cheaper down here in South Florida than it is where the member lives outside of the state, it could always be arranged. There is going to be a fee to transport the vehicle, but it could be done.
Great. Thank you, Raul.
Another question that we had here, one of our members has, they're a cash buyer, and it wouldn't require a credit check, but how do I complete or use the auto buying service if they're a cash buyer? Raul, Tim, you want to answer that?
Sure. So that's absolutely fine. You can still, if you're a member here with EdFed, you can still utilize our Auto Advantage service. Again, it's free for all of our membership to use. You just want to let us know and let the Auto Advantage team know that you are a cash buyer and planning to purchase that vehicle cash. They will go through the same process of working with you to find out what type of vehicle you're interested in, setting up with an appointment with one of our dealerships, wherever can get the best price for the car for you, and work you through, no different than somebody that obtained a pre-approval with us. And in terms of, I know there was a second part of that question of if there was going to be a listing of vehicles for the March 9th event. We don't have a listing of the vehicles. It's, the dealers are going to bring a wide range of their makes and models that they offer. So we don't have an exact list of each of those vehicles.
Right. And then we have a question about leasing. I'll answer that we don't currently offer leasing. Dealers do offer leasing. However, what we have seen in the auto area is that actually leasing is more expensive than buying. Right now, the rates are very high and you can actually get better deals purchasing a vehicle. But if you would like to lease, you're welcome to lease with the dealer. Dealers are requiring very large down payments on leasing in order to get the payments down, and the payments are still higher than or the same as buying, and you don't have anything at the end. But it's all in your personal preference if you'd prefer to buy or lease a vehicle. I have another question regarding a minimum credit score. Tim, would you like to answer that?
Sure. So we have a wide variety of different products that we could potentially offer. So, the decision on the loan is really based on, the credit worthiness and then the ability to repay. We do have some products to help those that are maybe looking to reestablish some credit. We do have like a fresh start auto loan that potentially could help you if your credit is a little bit lower. So I wouldn't say that we have a minimum score per se, because we may have a product that could help assist your needs. And then I see another question there for, will we have luxury cars at the March event? So I know that we're going to have, Cadillac is going to be there, and they'll be able to bring some of their vehicles, so depending on if you consider Cadillac a luxury vehicle. And I'm not sure, I know we'll have Toyota. Raul, do you know if they're going to bring any Lexus vehicles with them?
I will say at this point, most likely not. It's going to be strictly Toyota. As far as luxury, I would, agree with what you said. Cadillac will be the one considered luxury.
It looks like there's one last question there of, is it better to always put a down payment? Some people say putting one down payment or one down isn't necessary. Please advise and thank you. That's a great question. I think it really all depends on your budget and whether or not, the budget for how much you need to finance or can finance based on what we talked about during the presentation today and the price of the car that you want to maybe purchase is. You want to make sure that that monthly payment can fit within your budget. So if, let's say, theoretically, the maximum loan amount to fit within your budget that you can take out for that monthly payment is $40,000, but the vehicle that you truly love and is going to fit all of your needs is $45,000. Then you may need to, maybe smart to put a down payment. But it's not always necessary. It depends on the value of the car that you're purchasing, how well of a deal you can get on it. One thing you want to watch is not being too far upside down, because as we all know, the vehicles, as soon as you drive them off the lot, they depreciate, and they can depreciate pretty quickly over the first few years of your loan or of owning the vehicle. So putting a down payment can help to kind of protect you in the sense that if there's ever a total loss, that your insurance, that you won't be upside down and still owe on a loan for a car that you don't owe anymore. But that's where things like GAP can maybe help protect. So, you know, GAP could be in lieu of putting a large down payment to give you that protection. And I see there's another question here for what's the longest loan time with the credit union? So that's a great question. It really varies depending on the age of the vehicle, but for new cars, we can finance up to 84 months, which would be 7 years. And for used cars, we can go up to 72 months, which would be 6 years. However, it is based on the age of the vehicle. So the older the car, kind of the shorter the term that we have. But if you contact our lending center, we can go over more details for you based on if there's a specific year car that you're looking to purchase. And I see another question that's similar about with the down payment. You know, is it correct to think the larger down payment, the smaller the monthly payment will be? So this could be true. So if you are purchasing a vehicle, let's say again is $40,000, and you put a large down payment on that vehicle, let's say you put $10,000 down, then you're only going to need to finance $30,000. So your monthly payments will be less than if you only put a $5,000 or no down payment and needed to finance the full 40. So yes, if you put a larger down payments, the smaller your monthly payment will be. As long as the loan amount is going down, but if you decide, well, I'm going to put 10,000 down, but my loan amount is still going to be 40 and I'm just going to purchase a more expensive vehicle, then your payment really wouldn't change than if you were to purchase a less expensive vehicle at the 40,000. And it looks like we have 2 more questions here. One is that what are the dealer fees one is expected to pay? How do I know if I'm paying too much? Raul, I'm not sure, you have probably more expertise in that area than I do.
Dealer fees have been increasing lately, but the typical dealer fee ranges from $995 and $1,200, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
That's the typical dealer fee.
Okay. Yeah. So if you can get it to the lower end, the better probably, but
Absolutely.
that's good information to know that if they're charging over that, it may be a little too high.
Yes, it is.
Good question. And the last question we hear that we have is, what do I Google in to find the calculator to determine the budget? So if you Google, how much car can I afford? That is a great way to search it. And more than likely, the first one that's going to pop up is the Edmunds.com website, and that'll be the car affordability calculator.
I think that is the last question we had. I did have a question come up that I answered. The question was for the pre-approval, like how long did their pre-approval last for? And it was 30 days.
Correct.
So I went ahead and shared that, but I did want to share it with everybody watching. I did want to thank everybody, for joining us today. Tim, thank you so much for this information. If there's any more questions, I see, it says here, can you all do the dealer transactions? I can maybe handle, is that the question? Can we handle the dealer transactions?
So with our Auto Advantage team, we are able to, you still have to go to the dealership yourself. So we'll still, you still have to make the appointment and go in and finalize the paperwork because there are documentation that you need to sign with the dealer to purchase the vehicle. But in terms of the negotiation of the actual price of the vehicle and what that out the door, price is going to be, that would all be handled through our Auto Advantage team. They'll be able to take care of you with that.
We have a few more minutes, so if there's any other questions, we can answer. Very informative. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm hoping we were able to answer a lot of the questions you all had. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you so much. We are going to be posting this presentation on our YouTube page, so look out for that. I do want to go ahead and just kind of put this up one more time so you all know. Again, Saturday, March 9th, we're super excited to have it back. Our auto sale event, it's always a big success. You know, all of our members love this. It's going to be at our Kendall branch. Again, a super unique opportunity to have over 150 vehicles there. Number one, to see the variety, right, of everybody, what they're going to bring. But also to test drive, you know, how unique is that to be able to see all those vehicles in one location? Please, oh, do you also negotiate the trade-in? I have a few more questions, Tim. Do you negotiate the trade-in from a member?
So Raul, and maybe you can best answer that question.
Right. We don't negotiate the trade per se. You know, we give you an idea what your trade is worth. We guide you through different channels of getting ideas of what it's worth. We recommend you to take it to CarMax to get an appraisal and see what it's worth. But the dealer's the ultimate, you know, one that makes the final offer. So, you know, we could give you, so you could have an idea already what it's going to be worth, but we don't negotiate the trade.
Right. And then I see one last question on there of, do you need a call in advance to make an appointment with a counselor at the branch? The answer is no, you do not need to make an appointment to see any of our member advisors at our branches. You can come in and at the front desk, let them know that you want to speak to a member advisor in reference to a auto loan, and they'll go ahead and put you in the queue to speak with somebody.
Amazing. Thank you again. Thank you again, Tim. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Raul. Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. I think it was a super informative session today. Again, I'm going to share our website if you want to get pre-approved online, www.edfed.org/apply. Super easy. If you want to call the Lending Center, 305-273-5626, or in person, you can come to one of our 7 convenient branch locations. And again, they will refer you to our Auto Advantage team, Raul and Annette at Kendall, and then Claudia at Miami Gardens. Again, I'm going to put this up for anybody who wants to join us on March 9th. We are looking forward to seeing you in person. And again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. Again, we will be having a webinar every single last Saturday of each month. And again, thank you so much for everybody participating. We're about to hit 12 o'clock. And so we are done for today, but we will be posting this session on our YouTube page. Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody. And we hope to see you again next month.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.